episode of Happy Hour with Steve Guy. Maybe you noticed I'm back in my basement bar. No, this is not an old episode. This is a new one. We're not at All Saints Public House. In fact, we probably won't be for the next 2 weeks. We have 2 virtual interviews, folks who couldn't be in Cleveland for them, so we did it online, but they are still very fun guests that we wanted to bring to you. And this week's guest is from Denver, Colorado. Originally, actually, he's from Maine. He's a comedian. He's a musician. He is an actor. Ben Roy is his name. He's very funny. Has 2 really good podcasts that are out right now, but also starred in a show on TruTV called Those Who Can't. So we talk a little bit about everything as well. And of course, head over to the Happy Hour with Steve Guy podcast, where we dive even deeper into conversation. We also have stand-up comedy from local comedian Logan Rishaw this week. And so I'm back in my basement bar. You don't know what time of day I'm recording this, so you can't judge me. I may or may not have a drink or 2 or several in the background. It doesn't matter. Who cares? You don't know. It's fine. Judgmental much? Anyway, here are things that people are talking about at their happy hours this week. Of course, rather than debating, because Donald Trump at some point had the coronavirus, Joe Biden and Donald Trump each took to their individual town halls on 2 separate television networks with 2 separate moderators. So, really, if you're undecided at home, basically what we got are people who want to vote for Joe Biden, watch Joe Biden. People who want to vote for Donald Trump, watch Donald Trump. People who are in between and don't know who they're voting for, watched the Major League Baseball playoffs. I don't know. Also, since we last talked, the Los Angeles Lakers are the NBA's champions. Incredible. A 4th ring for LeBron James. Some people, it went unnoticed to because there's so much going on in the world right now, and you forget that basketball was still happening because it was put on hold and then it came back, and it's usually not occurring this time of year. But congratulations to LeBron. Probably this means that he'll come back to Cleveland again. I don't know. But whether you forgot basketball happened or not, don't let any of this distract you from the fact that in 2016, one of LeBron James' rings happened because the Golden State Warriors blew a 3-1 lead against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's get into this week's conversation with Ben Roy. All right, joining me now, swinging by from Happy Hour. He's a comedian. He's a podcaster. He's an actor. He's a musician. There's not a lot that you're not, Ben. Ben Roy is swinging by here. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I wish I've been sober for 10 years now, so I'm going flavored bubbly water here for my happy hour drink. So
what is that? I have not seen that kind of.
Wow, this is just. I think it's Whole Foods has a sparkling water. I'm a little bit of a baldy song for your family out there.
Yeah.
Because I had a teensy bit of a drug and alcohol problem. So, but anyway, yeah. So that's what I'm having. What are you drinking?
I don't have anything at the moment. Typically as like the bartender, you're not really drinking when you're working. So
liquor case behind you. There is quite obviously a fair amount of.
Yeah, I've got options there. I got whiskey back there. What you can't see behind me somewhere is tequila and vodka. So there's options.
Truthfully, I think if I could just drink beer, I would probably be fine.
Yeah.
If I stuck with beer, I would be a manageable drunk, but it's always that once I started getting a little drunk, I wanted all the brown
shot.
Stuff. Yeah. I want to be whiskey. But yeah, well, thanks for having me. My sad story right now.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, dude. You're a guy that's, as we noted, typically very busy with a lot of things, but like most people, this pandemic, then you became not so busy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I took a career path that relies heavily on people being like super spreader type events. That's where my catalog of accomplishments lies. So yeah, it sucks, man. This fucking blows, but it is what it is. I could be in a lot worse situation, you know. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Now you're in Colorado, in the Denver area, right?
Yeah, I live in Denver
Yeah.
right now because I was going back and forth to LA. That I have. This sounds like I have a lot of money. I don't, but I have a place to stay when I'm working in LA, and then but I would prefer to live the majority of time in Denver. So
Okay.
and then when the COVID hit, there was no work out there right now anyway, so I just stayed. I stayed here in Denver. Nice. This is my favorite place to be.
Yeah, it makes sense. But you're starting to kind of do some more comedy now, right? I mean, all locally. But you were talking. We're saying, you know, been traveling for so many years.
Yeah.
Is this feeding the itch a little bit that you get to get out there and perform?
Yeah. I mean, I thought I hated it. I thought I'd burnt out on doing stand-up and traveling and I think at that time I probably had, but no, yeah, this definitely I'm hungry. I want to travel again. But I also understand the process, and this is just where we're at right now, and whatever.
Yeah. And it's so cool. I saw some of the shows that you're doing. Obviously, they relate to one of the podcasts you're doing because you're doing two right now. Way to stay busy, Ben. But
I'm a white dude. All I know how to do is podcast. That's it. It's in my veins.
But one you're doing is the Grawlix Saves the World with your buddies who some people may be familiar with you from the TruTV show. Those who can't.
Yeah.
And these are a couple of your co-stars. I mean, you guys have been friends for a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's much like Cleveland scene. It's very small, very insular scene. I mean, there's a lot of good comics here, and there's great clubs, but everybody knows everybody. And myself and Adam, Kate and Holland and Andrew Orbit all kind of gelled together.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what are we getting? I guess people tune into that podcast. It's the way I would explain it is kind of just a bunch of nonsense. But
people think that we're like being serious when we say we're trying to change the world. We're not. We basically each week take a self-help challenge and we try to do it, and we come back a week later and report on the results. So like one week we gave up social media, the other one time we tried to stop saying the words like or when telling a story. And if you did do it during the story, you got hit with this really hard spatula across your knuckles. So it just tried to teach you proper vocabulary through pain, which doesn't work. I'll tell you. But we do a whole bunch.
Did you go to Catholic school? My God.
I did, actually, believe it or not.
Okay.
But we watched all the Fast and the Furious movies in 1 week, just to like see how the other half lives. And so like we just take on challenges and we try to best each other at being better. Like it's competitive self-improvement. So it's we just truthfully wanted to make something during all of this that's like tongue in cheek and lighthearted and is fun for us and hopefully fun for our listening. So, and thankfully Sklar Brothers and the people at Starburns Audio were into the idea and agreed to do it with us. So it's been cool.
Yeah, it seems like you guys have a lot of fun together. I mean, the fact that you had a TV show and then you're still doing this podcast together, you obviously haven't gotten tired of each other yet.
No, you know what's funny is I truly love those guys. Like we've been through some dark shit together. I mean, Adam wrote a book about everything that had happened with his family. It's awesome. If you haven't read it, it's called Tragedy Plus Time. And, you know, I mean, we've had collectively throughout the time of building this, a lot of very dark personal things happen where and they've been my best friends throughout it. You know, we're not sick of each other. I think part of that is just that we're like totally different. We could not be doing comics. If you've seen Adam K. Nolan, a lot of people may have, because he certainly has done a lot of, I mean, he's had a half-hour special on Comedy Central, and he's done some really great things and wrote this book, and he's totally different. We're much different comics, much different viewpoints, and ditto Andrew. So, you know, and if you've listened, Andrew's the quieter of the three of us, even though he's the one that, with those who can't, he's the one everybody loved the most. His character, the gym teacher, Fairbell, was like everybody's favorite character because he's the lovable dipshit. So
it was that mustache.
It was that raccoon tail, and he'd have to keep that look throughout all of production all year, and he looked so gross. It was just gross. But yeah, we're fortunate for sure that we don't hate each other.
Well, and then the other podcast that you're doing right now, 97.9, The Rat Race.
97.9, The Rat Race. Of course, on with Donnie D, Animal, and Tara in the morning. That was Gloria Esteban with a little turn the beat around. Yeah, that's my my passion right now. It's so fucking stupid, and it is. And thankfully, I mean, all things comedy, Al Madrigal was really into it and was like, this is so fucking funny. And so we're very fortunate. It's myself and this dude, Chris Mars, who is not a stand-up. He's a character actor and a writer. And in every commercial as the doofus guy. He was a writer on Those Who Can't. And so he and I started. He's one of the funniest human beings. And we just started. This started as a joke that I would play on my wife every morning. So I'd wake her up with this fake drive time thing, and I'd hold my camera out and I'd film me waking her like the alarm went off, but I'm playing that guy. I'm like, this is happening right now with the I-71, the 76, 74, 73, and the Tedeschi business loop is at a standstill. And so I started, then it came up to do this as a scripted podcast. So it's a scripted comedy podcast with a fake zoo crew that the show always turns horrifically dark. And so
it's so brilliant because there's so much bad morning radio out there. Every person in America can listen to this and be like, I know what show this is about. It's all different show.
I mean, truthfully, my favorite part about it has been the people, like comic heroes of mine, who have like said like they love it. I mean, people who I really look up to comedically, like Matt Bronger was like, oh man, dude, I fucking love this. Bobcat Goldthwait was telling me that when he was on tour with Dana Gould, like they listened to them religiously. And I'm like a huge Dana Gould fan. I mean, that guy's done everything from writing on The Simpsons. I mean, he's fucking amazing. Ditto Bobcat. I love Bobcat.
Oh,
and so that's how Bobcat ended up doing one of the episodes, because I was like, would you do one with us? And so there's a lot of guests that we want to try to have on, just based on their, like they've said, you know, I'd love to be a part of this. So it's really fucking dumb. And the thing is with this, that like it could not have been born out of a more dumb idea. I mean, it's not a novel idea to make fun of the like morning radio voice, but the animal character that Chris has created, my sidekick, is so likable in an odd way, even though he's terrible. He's like the human id, you know, he eats all the things you shouldn't, and he takes every stance that's terrible. But yeah, it's and we love like taking them so dark, like the War of the Roses episode that turns into a murder suicide on air.
Yes.
Yeah. Where we're trying to make like we're always trying to look for the silver lining of it. Like maybe there was, we don't know that was a gunshot. I mean, maybe they worked near a fireworks factory. We get Metro Fire to check on these folks, and we'll be back. But yeah, it's really fun to do, and I'm glad you said that because it means a lot. It's become and there's a lot of stuff we're trying to do more with it. So.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, listen, if you guys want more of this conversation with Ben, check out the Happy Hour with Steve Guy podcast. We'll go over there and we'll have an even longer conversation, diving into more of this and deeper. But in the meantime, check out 97.9 The Rat Race and the Grawlix Saves the World, both of those podcasts. And Ben, they can follow you on social media where?
You can follow me at BenRoy00 on Twitter and Instagram. And then just Ben Roy. I have the Facebooks and whatnots, and follow my band Spells at Spells Rules on all the podcast all the social platforms. It's at Spells Rules.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man, for swinging by Happy Hour.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Hey, so fun conversation there with Ben Roy. Make sure, like I said, listen to the Happy Hour with Steve Guy podcast. We have an even longer conversation. Ben played in Cleveland with his band at Now That's Class. So yes, this is what Ben Roy knows of Cleveland as of right now, is Now That's Class, the punk rock bar. So if you are curious as to how that conversation goes, definitely check out the Happy Hour with Steve Guy podcast. And now, look, we turn to another comedian, but this time he is performing. This is local comedian Logan Rishaw.
I just want to say that I'm glad to be here in Lima. I was afraid I'd have to cancel the show last minute. My grandmother passed away this week. Thank you. So me and my parents have been putting together all these funeral arrangements. We have family coming in from out of town. My uncle and some cousins had to cancel a trip from Disneyland to go home early, so it's been a whole ordeal. But I wanted to start the show by saying if there's a silver lining, it's that my grandmother died doing what she loves, which is inconveniencing the entire family. It's okay to laugh. She's not actually dead yet. She's just getting very old. I want that joke to be perfect for when she does go. If you guys are going to laugh at a dead grandma joke up top, you're going to be a very fun crowd tonight. I like doing road trips, so it was exciting to come to Lima. It's about 2.5 hours. Like being on the road. I like seeing the billboards that are on the road and the choices that advertisers made. Like, I was driving over this morning, and the first billboard I saw after like an hour into the drive was abortion is systemic racism. And then like directly behind it was McDonald's. Like just a McMuffin and it said Good Morning Ohio. And I like to think that those were planned to be together. McDonald's is just trying to be super woke. This is going great. Usually I'm kind of a downer. I have seasonal depression. Does anyone else here have seasonal depression? Yeah, so seasonal depression is pretty bad. I have a very severe case because it occurs during all of the seasons. It's fun time. I'm doing good now, though. I started the year in a rough spot. I was dating a girl who lived, she was studying abroad over in London, so the time difference was always getting to me. There'd be a 5-hour time difference between Cleveland and London, so I'd always check my watch and be like, okay, it's 9 o'clock here, so we're over in London. She's probably cheating on me. I really like doing stand-up, but it's not my real passion in life. If I can be honest with you guys, my real passion in life is starting a They Might Be Giants cover band. We're going to be called They Might Be Giants. I've got it all figured out, too. It's going to be great. We'll wear masks and be mysterious. No one's going to know who's actually in the band, but if we sound good, hopefully people at the shows will say something like, I think They Might Be Giants, might be They Might Be Giants. It's not going to be worth it. When I'm traveling a lot, I like to stop at like weird tourist towns or like any type of like Americana area. Like I love Niagara Falls, especially the older side of it. You guys ever been to Niagara Falls? Tons of weird museums. They've got a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, a wax museum. when I was driving by this year, me and my buddy, we saw something called a mirror maze. You ever done those?
Yeah.
They're fascinating. They're exactly what it sounds like. It's a big room full of mirrors and you try and find your way out. So we were driving by and my buddy saw it and he looked me dead in the eye and he goes, "Hey Logan, do you want to drop acid and do this mirror maze?" It's a horrible idea. Anyone here who's done acid, you know the last place you want to be tripping is in a room where you see 100 versions of yourself. And if you hug any of you use too tightly, you turn into shards of glass. And I was like, no, but we can take an edible and try this mirror maze. And if you get real high and do a mirror maze, you're not going to find the way out. But you are going to find yourself. And that's my time. I'm Logan Rishaw. You've been fantastic.
Very funny stuff there from Logan. I had the opportunity to work with Logan on the Cleveland Comedy Festival for a couple of years. Hard-working dude. And I got to tell you, just as funny in person as he is on stage. Follow him on social media at Logan Said This. And now we've come to the portion of our show where we say, here's to you. We give cheers to somebody that's doing something awesome or had some sort of monumental moment. No, we're not saying here's to you to LeBron. I think 4 MVPs in an NBA Finals is enough kudos for him. But we try to highlight people who maybe got missed and give kudos to them. Little toast of the glass and basically, cheers. So if you have someone that you think deserves more kudos for something that they've done, email happyhoursteveguy@gmail.com and let us know who you think we should say here's to you. This week, we give kudos to a former guest on the show, independent wrestler PB Smooth. You may remember when he was on the show, we talked about some awesome things that he's doing, not just as a wrestler, but he actually started a scholarship at his collegiate alma mater of Mercyhurst in Erie, Pennsylvania. This week, PB announced the very first recipient for that scholarship. I think that's awesome. So this week we say, PB, here's to you. All right, that's going to do it here this week. And make sure, again, check out the Happy Hour with Steve Guy podcast, extended conversation with Ben Roy, and let us know what you think. Until next time, thanks for swinging by Happy Hour with Steve Guy.